Who are those guys?
They're known as scraps. Outcasts and deserters who choose to live beneath us in sewers and abandoned tunnels. They're a constant irritation to our harmony.
They're nothing but thugs and hooligans.
DIYers, welcome. DIYers, of course, I'm Curtis King, and this is Live from the Underground. This is a series spotlighting independent artists, building with intention and purpose. We focus on origin stories, creative philosophy, and what it really means to be and build independently, regardless of access, platforms, or systems. Let's get into today's guest. Today, I'm joined by LITO and Roy-AL, both from Brooklyn, New York. LITO is an artist, actor, and creator who work spans beyond music, film, and television, including his role as Namond Brice on The Wire. This year, he released his album, 33 Winners, a phenomenal damn album, but the album wouldn't be phenomenal without the right production. We got Roy-AL, who's also an artist and producer and engineer, whose journey began as a DJ and radio personality and has evolved into a sound rooted in soul, funk, and hip-hop. He produced 33 Winners and is preparing to release his own solo project next year. I appreciate the both of you for being here. Welcome to Live from the Underground. How you doing?
Man, appreciate you for having us, for real.
For real, brother.
Of course.
Grateful. Gratitude.
So yeah, when Roy-AL sent the music over, my brain was already moving before the song was over with. I just tell you how good the damn song that you sent over was. It definitely led me down the rabbit hole as I kind of researched and got prepared for this. But you know, we got some questions that only y'all are able to provide the context for. Feel free to answer this in whatever order that y'all see fit. But where did your artists' names come from?
For me, you know, it's funny. So I've been doing music. A lot of people don't know. I've been acting now 22 years, but I was doing music way before I even thought to like read a script or anything. And when I first, it was like me and my mom couldn't decide a name when I was a child, right, to do it. And then once I started getting in the industry and I started messing around with music on like a more professional level, I actually first went by J. Brice, which is Brice is the last name from Namond, and J for LITO. And I dropped a few like joints on that, a little few mixtapes, nothing crazy. Then I was like, nah, bro. That was when I was like a teenager. Then I was like, I got to get away from the whole Wyatt thing, and because I started to mature as an artist.
Right.
And then, when I started working on this project and a little before this, well, my last project, that was 2023, I was like, hey, man, I was trying to think maybe like go the Childish Gambino route, do something completely different. I even went on from what he did, which he got Childish Gambino from the Wu-Tang name generator. I don't know if y'all know that.
Yeah, I heard about that. It was a website generator. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I tried that and nothing fire came out. And I was like, I'm just going with LITO, man. That's what everybody call me. Like, LITO it is, man.
Yeah, I started off with High Demand because my real name is Dewan, and then you turn the W upside, it looked like Demand. I was like, this ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work. This got about a good 6-month run, and it had like a 3-month run actually. Roy-AL, tell me what is the story behind your artist name?
Man, I'm not even gonna lie. Mine started off pretty much just as like a gamer tag for just playing Xbox. So I went with, because my first name is Alex.
Okay.
So then I went with Roy-AL, and the inspiration behind that was like just, you know, Roy-AL, royalty, just king competitor, you know. But once I started getting into music, you know, I was producing, I was rapping mostly. So like it worked because I had a very competitive mind state. I wanted to be the best rapper. I had a chip on my shoulder. But even through time, it kind of just turned into more of a spiritual thing, just wanting to, you know, just striving for just higher quality, you know, whether in spirit, reaching for higher professional wise, mental wise. And, you know, that's just what I carry around with me. It's a name that it gives me power, man.
Yeah. I was going to ask the next usual question, which is what city do you represent? But I think it's been very clear that y'all both represent.
It's Brooklyn right here.
Big Brooklyn.
Look, before you jumped on here, I was talking to LITO about his Knicks allegiance, his Knicks loyalty, and we was talking about my experiences coming out there and being a dumbass that ordered French toast at a place that you probably not supposed to order French toast, and somebody in there said, "Man, who the fuck ordered French toast?" And I said, we for sure in New York.
We're not in Kansas anymore, Toto.
We're not in Cali no more for sure. So I'm gonna skip that question, unless you want to talk about kind of the influence of of where you're from and how it's had an influence on your music or just life in general?
Yeah. I mean, I think Brooklyn is just being from here is unlike any place in the world. I mean, and I'm sure we talked about like the similarities between LA and Brooklyn,
Right.
and but for me, Brooklyn, man, it's a certain level of cachet that comes with it, and it's also a certain level of motivation. We got when you got Biggie and Hov from here, man, you can't say you a rapper and just, you know what I mean? Like it
Mhm.
comes with a certain level of like honesty you have to have with yourself, and also just understanding that like you stepping in footsteps of legends, of giants, and not even just Hov and Big. You think of Fab, you know what I'm saying? You think of just certain people that's like okay, MOP, you know what I mean? Just certain people that are like for me personally, I'll say this. I always do anything, especially when it comes to music, and I think, what if Hove heard this?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and
Hmm.
it's not that far out. I'm not gonna say that but Lenny S is a great friend of mine. So I always think it's possible. You know what I mean? And what if
Right.
Hove heard this? How would he feel about it? You know what I'm saying? And that's why I was telling you earlier. I never, even though I did music longer than I was acting, I never put out anything on a high level because I just thought if I couldn't do it on a high level, then I didn't want to do it
That's huge.
because I honor it and I respect it. And like I said, being from Brooklyn, man, just come on, you got some big shoes to fill. So, and even on a small, way smaller scale, it's still for me. I just have some pride around it. So that's what
Yeah.
Brooklyn is for me musically, of course. Yeah.
Man, I had a buddy of mine. He used to use that as kind of like a measuring stick when we record in the studio. He'd be like, "Man, how would you deliver that if Dre was engineering this?" And whatever that was, it made me say, "All right, I gotta," because Dre gonna make you
Uh,
record 4,000 times if you don't get it right. Like you
uh,
gotta. So
uh,
you kind of find some extra, oomph into what you're doing. What about you, Roy-AL? What is the influence of Brooklyn on you, your music, or whatever that you wanted to cover with that?
Yeah, I would say it definitely just helped more so like my skill set
Yeah.
just as an artist. Because when I came in, once I started doing music and I was just doing the runaround of going to radio shows, going to events and things. There's a certain standard here that you have to have the fundamentals down.
Mm,
When it comes to New York, you got to be able, if a beat come on, you got to be able to give a high. You got to be able to, what I'm saying, give a 16. That's of quality. You go to a radio show, no matter if it's a college radio or whatever, you got to be able to spit. There's ciphers everywhere. So
mhm,
knowing how to rap, here, it was very important to you being able to get your name out, being able to network. So
mhm,
that really just helped shape me just as an MC. And then eventually I just started adding on to my skill set to where, now I'm singing a little more. I can venture out the genre a little bit, but I still have that foundation just as a lyricist.
yeah, yeah, and that's why I'm always a big supporter of regional sounds because of the regional pride that it puts within you, knowing like it's been some giants that I'm standing on the shoulders of. Like it's been some giants that have opened the door and allowed the opportunity for my region to be heard and respected the way that it is. Let me ask you both this: what's been the hardest moment in your creative journey so far?
mm. Well, you got some? Because I got
Honestly,
many.
He said, "I got many."
I mean, I would say just the hardest moments. I mean, pretty much just juggling, trying to have a career, but then at the same time trying to fund it. So it's this,
Mhm,
and then also you got to work. Thankfully, as an engineer, I can kind of balance the two, but you're taking care of a lot of people before you take care of yourself, really.
It's true.
And
mm,
then also, just aside from that, just the hardest part is just having the ideas. Because I picture myself, I'm great with audio. When it comes to visual art, that's kind of when I'm a little bit shaky.
Mm,
And that's really like hell. I feel like that's something that is kind of, slowed the process a bit because I have
mm,
all these great ideas. I'm making all this music, but when it's time to like really, find other ways to promote it and, come up with content, that's always been kind of slow. And then that's kind of always hurt the consistency with promotion. So it's been a lot of trial and error throughout time. So
mm,
one of the moments is when I started to figure it out, and then I started like getting active on TikTok. I went viral. I started posting, just things that got people engaged to duet things with me, coming up with beats and telling people, yo, rap on this, give me a verse here. And those went viral. Um, and the next thing you know, my videos are going up and I had no way to pretty much follow it up.
Oh
I had
wow.
no, you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to figure out things and I didn't really have a plan to figure it out. So now it's a lot of just starting back up and trying to build from there, but just with the knowledge that I gained, from there.
Yeah, that's
I think
huge. I think before I didn't mean to cut you off.
no.
I was going to say I think that's huge to put a pin in that for the artists that are listening right now, and that a lot of folks are chasing a virality that I don't think they understand whether or not they're ready for, and the responsibility that comes along with that. You may be wanting to push people to your website, but your website is not properly engineered to handle the foot traffic of going viral. So, some slow growth is definitely a much more sustainable plan when you know what you're going after. Lito, what about for you? What has been the hardest moment in your creative journey so far?
That's so important. I just want to
Yeah.
you saying slow growth sometimes is better than that. That's something that a lot of people don't understand, man. And I love that you spoke about that. For me, it's been 22 years of like a slow growth. You know what I mean? I think it's a gift and a curse, right? So I've been blessed with success in one field, and people, it's people talk about The Wire as if it's still on TV every week. So that's a blessing,
Yeah.
right? But then when you try to go into different fields, it's like, okay, there's a level of judgment that comes with like, you doing like I'm gonna keep it a buck, Curtis. Like I've had friends. Roy knows this. Like I've had friends who are like my best friends,
Mhm.
and they never heard me do music. So they went into listening to 33 Winters like, all right, I'll press play.
Look,
And I'm just like,
I told you offline too. Like I
mhm,
told you offline. I said when Roy-AL sent this in and he gave me like the synopsis and of who this was and where it came from. There's a part of me that's like, no, we didn't see this movie before. How is this gonna
yeah,
play out?
yeah.
And he'll tell you as the music played. I'm like, nah, bro, really do this. Like there's no
Uh,
denial about that. He is a true artist in every
uh,
sense of the word. Like he is
that
a
means
modern
so
day
much.
Renaissance man in what he's doing.
That means so much to me, and I think when you get it, and as
Mhm.
we all musicians here, and I'm like, you get you when you figure something out, it's like something snaps in you, you're like, oh, okay,
That's
got it,
it.
and I think
That's
that's
it.
what
Yeah.
comes with this album. And Royale, of course, was a huge part of like supporting me in that. But like for me, it's just like having people buy in, and I think on my last project I did, Legendary is the Option. I think people heard it and was like, oh, this is good, this is cool. I
Yeah.
think they are now bought in when they listen to 33 Winters. And I
Yeah.
think that's the difference there. And I think that's been some of the hardest part of just trying to, just give people something that they're like, okay, I'm gonna re-listen to this and not just press play once because it's somebody I know or I liked him on The Wire or I appreciated
Right.
his other work. Like, no, like just like I'm coming across people like putting it in their stories that they're not even tagging me. They're just like putting it in their
That's when you know it's
stories. And
real.
I'm like,
That's when you know it's real. When
and
they
I'm like,
tag you, it's like maybe
like
they
that
want to
just happened just
repost.
now.
Maybe they
Curtis,
want some
bro, that just
engagement.
happened
Yeah.
bro, that just happened just now before I
Right.
got on here. I just turned my Instagram on, touched somebody's stories, and they used
Come
my
on.
song as like that, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Even yesterday, I'm driving with my homegirls, and they're like, not. It wasn't like I'm saying, yo, play the album real quick because I want.
Mhm.
They were playing it and knew word for word the records, and it was the
Mm.
first time I was around somebody outside of me and Roy that like me and Roy know the records. We've lived with the records. We created the records. But like being in a car with somebody, bro, and hearing them play the record and they like know every word.
Yeah.
And like you got to think about it, bro. Me and Roy started this journey December of last year, but we only did essentially like 9 to 10 sessions at most for this
Mhm.
project.
That's crazy.
So, so to think of like me coming up with the themes, coming up with the ideas, writing it, him creating the production on it and then laying it and then now putting it out. I haven't heard nobody listen to it outside of us. Like I've heard it
Yeah.
first time listens. I've heard, I'm gonna play this for you. But now that have people now have lived with it and now they know word for word. They know the ad libs. It's been mind blowing for me, bro. It's been
Man.
mind blowing. So it's been the hardest part of the journey, but now it's like the most fulfilling part because people are buying it.
Right. Well, take me back a little bit earlier. You know, when did this stop being a hobby and started feeling serious for you? And I'm talking specifically about the music still for
Yeah,
both of you.
yeah, man. I think I'm gonna keep it a buck, bro. I just got better at writing. I think early on, like I liked music and I enjoyed music, but I was like, I actually have to like become a better. I got to get better with my pen, and that started around 2023 when I dropped my first project.
Hmm.
But I think when you get what we talked about it earlier, Curtis, when you get with a producer, man, that just like y'all can
Changes
just
everything.
be one on one together, just like I bounce ideas off to Roy-AL, he bounced ideas off to me. We sit, we build the record from ground up together. He
Hmm.
knows the themes I'm going with. He knows the vibe I'm going. Like I would just be able to tell Roy-AL, like, hey, bro, like let's say with the intro, I'm like, I just wanted to feel like cinematic.
Hmm.
I wanted to feel like when you first turn a film on and those opening credits are going, and he was like, all right, got you. And just like, like 3 hours later, sent me the intro beat, and I'm like,
That exceeds
you
everything
know
that
what
I
I
said.
mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Do you guys have the
that's
kind
what
of chemistry?
you
Would you say you got the kind of chemistry that you could start a sentence and Royale already knows where you about to go with it, and he like I was thinking the same thing. And
I'm gonna
and
give you an idea of this, Curtis. I told him I wanted a quiet at some point.
yeah.
At some point. And my homegirl was in the studio with us and she just came to listen to some records. And as I just randomly was like, yeah, we got to figure out this quiet situation. It was one of the last sessions. I'm like, we got to figure this quiet situation out. And he was like, well, I got an idea already laid down. I just muted it for now, Roy,
Yeah,
right? Like,
like he said that as we were working on the record that I already had the choir idea for. So we were already kind of just right there. It was, I
That's what you
was
want to
wait,
saying
wait,
know.
wait. But it was muted. So he's
like,
like, well, I'm
Yeah.
going to play this for you real quick. So I don't know if you're going to like it, but and plays it. And I'm like,
What you mean you had it on mute?
right, like he had it on mute, like. But that's the chemistry he and I have.
Right.
I think we're working together, and when you find that, I think then the skies are the limits, and I think that's when I realized, all right, now we got something. Yeah.
What about for you, Royale? When did this stop being a hobby and started feeling serious to you?
Man, I think just as I just it was a hobby, but then once I just started coming out with music and just seeing how people were taking to it, dropping verses and people around me, because I have an uncle that was I got my uncle Vet, he's a producer. My brother, my older brother, he's also a rapper. He was popular around the neighborhood. He's about 5 years older, and
Mm.
so once I started doing this, and they were saying, "Yo, you really got something," and started. Next thing you know, people whose ears that I really respect, that's when I felt like, all right, this is definitely something that I wanted to pursue for real because I couldn't keep no job. I suck at keeping a job.
Say
Come
You know
on.
what I'm
you and
saying?
I
So I
both. You and
figured,
I both.
You, you and us, us
yeah.
all.
Us all.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
so
All
from there
three.
it's
All
like
three of us.
I might as well just put the best foot forward. I'm already, I'm on Fruity Loops, just messing around for fun. I'm writing raps,
Right.
basically just trying to fit in, just trying to do something just to, if at first it was something that just helped me bond with my brother and get us close. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? But yeah, that's when it was. I felt like it was go time when I recorded my first verse,
Yeah.
and
Mm,
people were like, "Hold on, it doesn't sound like this is your first time."
See,
mm,
see, so, and I think for the indie artists that are listening right now, two things I take away from that. One, y- a lot of artists are always looking for somebody that already has, a super producer's established name, right? And I don't say that as any kind of insult to what your positioning is, Royale,
absolutely,
but
absolutely.
the fact that you were able to be at a place where it's like, yo, we're eye level with these ideas and you're open to it, not like you got 300,000 other clients that's gonna make it to where like I get to you when I get to you. It really does benefit. It's benefited me as an artist to be with producers like my guy, oh gosh, Leotis, who we're here. We're here. And he's getting placements all the time. But as long as we're here, the ideas stay fresh, they stay
Mm,
risky, and you end up making some of the best music, better music, I would argue, than the music you would make with somebody who has a large, legendary, established name because y'all
mhm,
are on the same page. That's the first thing. Second thing, man, is just, you can't force chemistry. You cannot force chemistry. You got to let these things happen. And
right.
when it's time, it's time. And I'm glad that y'all both took your time with this. I got another specific question before I get into a question about 33 Winners. What was the first money you ever made from your music? And how did that moment change how you saw yourself?
I think for me, when I dropped on, I was. It's funny enough, and that's the great part about like having success in other areas. I was getting booked for shows and people didn't even hear my music, and they were like, "Hey, man, you rap? I bet come perform 5 records at this party because I'm gonna host it
Right.
already." So offer just my likeness, but now I'm at these I'm at these events or these parties, and I'm performing 4 or 5 records, and because girls was they like me, they bop into the records, and that made me realize like, oh, okay, I could do this. You know what I'm saying? This is years ago, bro. This is 2007, bro.
Wow.
2008, bro.
Okay.
We were going on like mini tours and whatnot, like off of just like my name, and then I'm performing at these events, and I went on tour like with my boy Red Cafe. That's a great friend of mine. I was hype man for him. We went on tour with Fab for a while. Like I was seeing that, like, okay, but and it's funny enough, even with the acting, a lot of my experience and for in a sense learning curves have been like quote unquote on set experience.
Mhm.
Like say for instance with acting, I've never taken an acting class still to this day.
Are
But
you
the first
serious?
director to this day, and the first director I worked with was Spike Lee for 8 episodes. So I got
Wait. Somebody need to stop this. Stop. Push the button. Hold on. I'm somebody to push the button. First of all, this man just casually said, yeah, Red Cafe, that's one of my homies. Man, on that one tour I went on with Fabulous. And,
no,
and then turn around and say, my first movie I ever worked on was with Spike Lee. You have lived.
Yeah,
no,
I'm good on answering that question. How do I
no,
even
no. But I'm explaining it, and I don't know. I promise.
No,
I sold the beat.
I don't take it as bragging either.
Yeah,
I don't take
and
it as
Roy-AL
bragging. I
know
don't take it
this.
as
Like,
name dropping. It just dawned on me like you've had the type of experiences 90% of human beings will never experience.
feel me,
But
bro?
that's why I do this. Because
Mm,
there is knowledge, there's information, this game that how else would they be able to access this if these questions weren't asked? So I'm still coming
mm.
to you, Roy-AL. Well, I know that's a crazy story to follow, but I'm still coming to you. But that
No,
first
but
money is important.
no, but what I want to
Absolutely.
say about it is that, like, so for instance, with being on tour with Red, and that's just because Red from my neighborhood, and we just rock, and I got to see like, okay, this is what he does when he does shows. This is what he need to work on. This is what okay. This is what
Mm.
works. This is what doesn't work. This is how you rock a crowd when they don't know your music, but you just okay. So you may start your set off with rhyming off of something that's familiar to that demographic or familiar to that location or certain things like that. You know what I'm saying? So when I started first doing shows, that's why I was able to do it and make bread off of it because it was like, oh, if I like say for instance, I went to Baltimore and I hosted something, I would rhyme off of like some Baltimore club music first,
Yeah.
and they'd get hyped because they like, oh, I never heard this. Oh, this is this, and then I go into my stuff like, hey, before I get out of here, yo, I got a record dropping. Who knows when? I don't know. I'm making up a date,
Right.
and I single, and they'd be like, "Oh, that's hot," So just like when I first started to make bread off of it, I was able to because I had a lot of experience, whether it was from the acting world or the music world. I just was able to soak in all of that and then give it to the crowd, and that's why I think it started to be real.
Fire. Roy-AL, what was the first money you ever made from your music and how did that moment change how you saw yourself?
I mean, this was probably like 10 years ago. I sold a beat for 200, but right then it was when it let me know that this is real.
This is
You
right.
know what I'm saying? That there's
Mhm.
something to this. I literally paid a bill using FL Studios. You
Hello.
know what I'm saying?
Hello.
So from there it was like, yo, and I didn't even feel like I was doing as much as I should then. So it was like, yo, if you can do this much, even just with the effort that you're putting in, imagine if you really go crazy, you know?
Man.
And a cool moment for me was probably about in 2020. I checked on my album that I released in 2017, and I seen that I had about a hundred something dollars just sitting on Discord from plays on it. That's what really let me. That was a real feel good moment because that's something that I really put like heart and soul in. I'm producing. These are my words, these are my thoughts and feelings, and there's money off of it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not much. I probably spent all of it in about 2 weeks, but it was a
It
damn
lasted,
good.
it lasted 2 weeks for
Yeah,
you. It lasted 2 weeks for you.
I got bills,
we
brother. It
live for a
lasts
few
20
days off
minutes.
music.
I got my first placement check from Vans. I kept the picture of the check a whole lot longer than I had the actual check. I
Hell
was like,
yeah.
I'll just take a picture of it because I'm gonna need this money ASAP. Let's talk about
Ace
33 Winners. 33 Winners to me, in my first few listens of it feels reflective and lived in. What creative headspace were you both in while making this album? And what does that title represent to you?
Mm. Well, Curtis, you've heard the album, so what the headspace I was in was I needed an outlet to release just pain, bro. I got a lot of pain, and unfortunately, 2025 took me through there. You know what I mean? To say the least, like it was a tough one, bro. And but when we started this album, I didn't know. Funny enough, I didn't know that this year would look like that because we started this in December of 2024, and I started it because I said, you know what? I was actually funny enough. I've never said this to Roy. I told you the story about where I listened to this Ed Sheeran album, and I heard him make an album about grief, and I was like, okay, I love that. I think that's a fire idea. But then I thought about another area that kind of led to this creation, and it was I read Kevin Hart's book. Damn, I forget
Mm,
the name of it, but something around like I'm gonna mess this up, something like that. His autobiography, and the lessons I learned. That's something around that,
okay.
hard lessons, something like that. And each chapter is something he went through that taught him a lesson that got him to where he is right now. And while reading that in like 2022, I was like, oh wow, yeah. I wasn't a huge fan of Kevin Hart prior, but reading that opened him up to me
Hmm.
in a completely different way. And I said that is why we fall in love with artists when they're honest and they're true.
Yeah.
And I think that's for me is like, yeah, you can try to make records, you could try to make club records, you could try, but people don't know you.
Hmm.
How are these people gonna fall in love with you? How are these people gonna get to know you if you're not being honest with them? Like, cool, you making a record about the club. You ain't even in the club. Why are you trying to make a record about the club? You know what I'm saying, Curtis? Like, and that's where 33 Winters came about for me because I said at that point in my life and up until this one started, I had experienced 33 Winters. And I said, I have a story, man, and I talked about maybe 10% of this story on this album because a lot of this album is geared toward this year in particular.
Right.
But bro, I have a story. My mom always used to tell me like, you need to write about your own story. Like, you need to make music about your own story. Like, you've been through some stuff, like. And I think that's where 33 Winters came about. I said, if I want people to get me as an artist, I have to give them my full self. And then eventually I could get to making the features and the club records if I choose to. But off rip, I need to make an honest and vulnerable record so people can understand who I am. And then from there I can build a fan base and I can build whatever sound I want to make in music. I think of people like Kanye West, and I'm not calling him Ye. I'm talking about Kanye West, who made the college right, who
Not
made
not
the
not
college
not not,
dropout.
not the 2.0 version.
Yeah, you feel me? Like I think of the college dropout. And I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, I listened to it every single day for like a
Same.
year straight because
Same.
I was like what is this? Like I never heard that because when I would hear Hove and Big and these artists, I couldn't relate
Mhm.
because I was still young. But then I heard Kanye College Dropout, and I was like, and then I heard Cole's Friday Night Lights, and I was like, oh, this is what it means to fall in love with an artist. And I
Mm.
think that's what I wanted to do for 33 Winters. I wanted people to be able to fall in love with Lito. And I think we did a good job with that.
Royale with the responsibilities of creating the music to support that. What what creative headspace were you in while producing this project?
Yeah. So I mean, pretty much. So the way I make the approach, it's I don't go into projects feeling like, yeah, I'm trying to give you, it's a Royale beat or nothing. I'm
Hmm.
trying to I'm trying to figure out what kind of headspace the artist is in. And I'm basically trying to just provide them a canvas, provide them the correct canvas to get those thoughts out. I'm trying to figure out just the most optimal way to take whatever they're doing and accentuate it by 1,000. So
Mm.
if he's saying I want to do an intro and I kind of wanted to start off a little grand, I'm trying to make a movie. I wanted to sound I wanted this to sound cinematic because I know he's trying to tell a story,
Right.
and that's important. So it's very important that every scene sticks out and has its own feel. And that's what I wanted to approach with this project. Just basically putting him in situations sonically that basically accentuate whatever he's talking about, whatever the story is.
Yeah.
That's why it was very important. A lot of this project, it was he had found a beat and then he would record it and then he would give it to me and then I would basically produce around his vocals.
Mm,
So that helped even more with just painting the picture around him.
yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, it was like I already had the blueprint right there. Now it's just take everything that he liked about this initial beat right here and find a way to bring it up to 1,000 and tailor make it for him, for his cadence, his voice, and all of that.
Man, and the phenomenal work you did, especially when you saw the stuff I was complimenting in the critique episode where I was like, "Oh, we doing a whole nother musical break at the end of this? This is what we doing? Like, oh, we're that intentional about every part of it because it's a lot of artists and producers who come together and they two track it to hell, and it doesn't really have a lot of life.
Hmm.
I was talking to a buddy of mine today that was saying he feels one big thing that's lacking in music today compared to the music we came up with. A lot of this
Yeah.
music is not a performance anymore. It is clicking things in, which is not a problem to get the
Yeah.
ideas out, but there's no performance. And some of my favorite beats have been somebody on an MPC, somebody on
Mhm.
the keys, somebody on a bass guitar, somebody as a rapper giving a performance. And I think that that's something that is a very important component to 33 Winners.
Mm.
These are two questions that I have that are a little bit customized because it's a custom kind of day today. It ain't every
Hmm.
day we have somebody from probably one of the most legendary TV series in The Wire. I know I came up on it like many of us that seen that. Having lived inside a character, Lito, like Namond Brice on The Wire, how did that experience shape the way that you understand storytelling, vulnerability, or character in your music today?
Such a great question. I think, so I've done a lot of work prior to The Wire and afterwards, but being with Naaman was an opportunity for me to be with a character for a year, for almost 2 years, and I think that shaped so much in me because it's cool, like to get on a project and you work on it for maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, maybe even a month. But I became Naaman. Naaman was a part of my DNA. He is a part of my DNA, and I think it helped me so much because Naaman, even though we had similar traits in a sense, but Naaman is I had to build Naaman off of like, you know, just pure acceptance.
Mm,
Acceptance of like the kids that are in those worlds and what they experience. And also, so Naaman would be the kind of kid for me personally in my life if I was in his world and his age, I probably wouldn't have liked him.
hmm,
So what occurred for with me is I had to understand grace and I had to understand I had to let go of judgment. And I think that made me become a way better storyteller than anything because I got an opportunity to say, okay, even if people don't like this character, how do we bring the human in? How do we show the human in this character? And I think that is where you really truly get to understand storytelling because you're not gonna always like the persona, the person, or but everybody has a story. And I think The Wire itself, the creators over there, shout out to David Simon and all of those great people, but just like they were able to humanize a homeless person, an addict,
yeah.
a murderer, also a politician, a law enforcement, right? Like you were able to humanize so many people that at the end of the series you watch, and you say, I actually don't know who was the bad guy.
Yeah,
right? Like,
they did a great job of giving them redeemable traits, right? That they weren't irredeemable. They weren't like the kind of, you know, villains we had in the '90s. A lot of times were like they were evil to the bone. It was like nothing else.
that's
There was no nuance to it.
yeah.
You didn't cheer for him unless it was Wesley Snipes and Demolition Man. That's probably the one villain I to the end. I was like, I hope he don't lose. I hope he don't lose.
Fact.
But the
That's
redeemable
funny. I
traits
hear
is
about that
important.
movie a lot when it comes to villains, and
Yeah.
that's interesting you say that.
Because I'm like,
But
as a kid, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to be rooting for him when he was funnier than Sylvester Stallone character, right? Like I'm like, I ain't rooting for the five. Oh, what we doing right now?
facts. But let
Yeah.
me say this though, and tie it into 33 Winters is because when you listen to the end of 33 Winters, you also don't know who the villain is, right?
Mm.
Even in me telling my story where I was hurt, I made sure that we made sure that I ended the album with saying hurt people. So forgiveness is a virtue,
Yeah.
right? Because how can somebody love you if they don't know, if they've never experienced love? How can some people harm you or do things to you and they don't even understand it? They're just trying to survive, you know? So that's why I made sure I ended the album in that way. And I think being a character like Namond helped me so much in creating stories that were you leave them and you say, I don't know what I feel about said character, but I know I feel.
And that's
And that's it.
important in a time where people are trying to show you their best version of not caring, like
Mm,
the things that are cutting through. Like I think that's the reason why a lot of music doesn't have any staying power, is that a lot of these artists they're not even present within themselves. So how
mm.
do you expect the music to be present with an audience? I want to ask you one more question about this Wire experience, because at some point we're gonna have another conversation. But the Wire continues to resonate deeply within hip hop culture years and years later. There's another meme every day. Omar coming. It's always something. Why do you think that show still connects so strongly with artists and the culture at large?
Mm. Uh, I think because the questions have never been answered, right?
Mhm.
It's this line that uh, he was detective, the educator, all that. Presbeluski, he says she 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 was, and it's such brilliant writing where he's watching football and she says, "Who's winning?" And he says, "No one wins. One side just loses more slowly."
Woo! That's
It's
some right. That's some
it,
writing right there. Oh we.
and if you look at society today, no one's winning.
Mm-hmm.
No one's winning. If you really think of it, from the politicians to the inner cities to the even the folks that are doing well for themselves, right? No one's actually winning. And I think because we haven't been able to answer those questions, a show like The Wire stands so strongly in today's society because people, there's a microscope on systems,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the thing. People think that The Wire is about like drug dealers. It's not. It's about systems
Yeah.
and the systems at play in making us all have the world we live in. And that's why when you watch it, like we were saying earlier, like you don't know who's the villain. And
Yeah.
I think that's why it's such staying power because people are still to this day trying to figure out. Number one, you're trying to figure out who the main character is. No one knows.
Right.
It's in a show of an ensemble of 20 characters. Then you're like, who wins at the end? Who knows? Because nobody's. And then you say, oh, this is still happening.
I'll tell you who won. It's whoever came up with the idea to say she. I say that at least once a day. My wife say
Clay
something, I'll be
David.
like, she. That's one of my
That's
favorites.
hilarious. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that's like a ad lib,
That was an
improv
ad
on
lib?
stage.
Oh man.
I don't remember them like telling me they wrote that in. I
How do
think that
you
was
write that in?
you
That gotta be
You're
an
not
ad
like
lib.
that.
Ain't nobody write
don't
that in
write
like,
it in.
I'm
Like
gonna put about 15 EIs in here and I need you to say it like this. Like, no, that's gotta come from the soul. I didn't
I
feel
feel
like
like
that
he did
before.
it one time and they probably was like, "Oh, that's good, that
Keep
works."
doing
And
that.
then he
Keep doing
just
that.
every scene he would just figure out a way. Like,
Roy-AL, I'm gonna come right back to you with this new question. What are some actual ways? Because we have a lot of independent artists that watch this show.
mhm.
What are some actual ways that you're making money today as an independent artist, producer, engineer? What are some ways that you're generating income independently today?
I mean, as far as today, pretty much just I'm even just by my day to day, I'm an audio engineer.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So I'm in the studio constantly, and that opens up opportunities for people are coming in, they're asking me if I got beats, and that's leading to collaboration opportunities. I've had opportunities to lay hooks down and things like that. So those are some of the ways, just being able to network, being near the music on the day to day. That's what's really helping me, fund things and come into these lucrative or semi lucrative opportunities, pretty much.
Mhm. What about
I'm telling people, man, yo, I got Curtis. I gotta hurry up and make Roy-AL a millionaire because they trying to steal him from me, man.
you know
They
that's
trying
gonna
to steal.
happen. You know that's
No,
gonna
that's
happen.
my producer, and we are a team. You cannot take it now. Yo,
What
when I tell you, people hitting me up saying, "Yo, I gotta work with him." Yo, that when I tell you how much that warms my spirit, bro.
Mhm.
Like, 'cause he is one of the most phenomenal producers I've ever heard, bro. Like when he really gets in his bag, I don't
Right.
like. Hearing him next to people that like are the greats, bro, and I really mean that. Like I've saw him work.
Mhm.
So like people have hit me about that and like, yo, he's that's him singing on it. That's and
It's
produced it.
incredible.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yo, sky's the limit for Roy-AL for real, bro.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I wanna ask y'all both. I'm sorry. Were you gonna ask something, Royale?
No, I was gonna say, I mean, pretty much that was like when I took this album on, like it was just the fact that I knew he had a story to tell. I knew if he's doing a project, even just listening to his last album, he
Mm.
said, because he told me you said on your last album, most of it it's just joints. You put a bunch of put some joints together, and you had the best ones on there. But there was still a lot of there was storytelling on that one. You
Mhm.
know, even the we had this song on there called "What Would Bishop Do?" When you were just talking about your life and just being tired of just where you was at. So that inspired me when he came to me. So the fact was, like, I seen this as an opportunity not only to you know not only to make create an album with someone who's just who's good at this for real,
Thank
but the fact that I felt like it would bring the best out of me.
Yeah.
And I'm very selective with the projects that I take on because I have this thing. I'm constantly thinking, what would Quincy do? I'm trying to get as
Mm.
close as possible as I can to Mr. Quincy Jones.
Yeah.
You know what
you.
I'm saying? So then it's like shoot for the moon, land on a star, or land on a cloud, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it needs to be something where I feel like I can improve, I can hit a new level as I'm going, and that's what made me take this project because I knew I could make a track like Flying High, and it would inspire me to tap into Marvin inspirations and all of that, and lay down something and play with different instruments, use different instrumentations, use a damn flute.
Come on.
You know what I'm
If
saying?
you got it, and you know your keys, run it up. Let's make it happen. Let me ask y'all both
Yeah,
this
man.
question. What is one thing you're currently doing that's clearly working, and why do you think it's working?
Vulnerability, man. Vulnerability. I'm gonna speak about that Kevin Hart book again. He used to go by Little Kev the Bastard, and he got with this comedian, right? And the dude was like, "Yeah, you funny, but it's whack because I don't believe you." And that's when he was like, "Yo, strip all that." Like he just made a lot of midget jokes, a lot of. He was like, "Yo, strip all that. Just go by Kevin Hart. That's your name, bro. Just."
Mhm.
And when he realized, oh, I got to be vulnerable and I got to be honest, and that's what's. And it's still funny in that I look at that in myself and I say, "Cool, I can make a lot of joints, but I got to be vulnerable. I got to be honest."
Yeah.
And and there could be success in that. And then that's why with this project, it's like cool. If y'all like it, if y'all appreciate it, if y'all buy it, if you want, cool. But because I was so honest, so vulnerable, and I feel so complete after dropping this project, I really don't care.
Mm.
Like, of course, I want to chart, I want to do all those amazing things. And by the grace of God, I will. But like, I'm so full that like when I tell you driving with my homegirls yesterday and hearing them rhyme survivor's remorse word for word, I'm
Right.
like,
It's an incredible feeling.
yo, yeah, like, and I'm sure Curtis, you've experienced this as well. Like,
Absolutely.
there's no feeling like that in the world, bro. Like, cause I remember being in the crib writing this and like in the dark with a candle lit and
Hmm.
just crying my eyes out writing this album. So to hear people actually hear it and experience it and like it, There's nothing like that. So I'm set. You know what I'm saying?
And
But we want all the other stuff too.
of course, I was going to say, and I experienced both ends of that spectrum. And that I still remember the days when I first started making music, and I let like the homie sister listen to it, and like I was rapping over 50 Cent beats because at that time it's like 2003, 2004. I'm rapping over his beats, and she's like, "Oh, this sound good," but it made me want to listen to 50 Cent. And she took my CD out, handed it to me in the back seat, and put "Get Rich or Die Trying" on, and I just sat there looking out the window like, "You good?" Yeah, I'm good. I'm just thinking, you know what I'm saying? Like I seen that. When you have that kind of humility, it makes you appreciate, like you said, when folks go out of their way to show their support of what you're doing. Roy-Al, same question for you. What do you think is working right now? Clearly working, and why do you think it's working for you?
I actually want to build off Lito's answer when he says vulnerability, because uh, the one thing that I've noticed just throughout my journey as an artist, I started learning ways that I can put more of myself into the music and make sure that you listen to a track and actually learn something about me, learn about the place that I am in life. And I feel like that's the main thing, the main reason behind when people hear my music and they take to it. I feel like that's a big factor because you're getting a perspective. You're getting a new perspective of someone.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing that I feel there is to being an artist, because the one thing, think about the biggest artist in the world, right?
Mhm.
Whoever that is right now, the one thing that I have that that person doesn't is my perspective. That's my
Facts.
one up, because we might have been to the same places, we might have seen the same things, but it's the fact that you weren't thinking what I was thinking when we saw those things. You didn't see it from my angle. We've come from a different life, so you didn't really analyze it the same way. And if I can take those things and put it into a record, now there's a reason to listen to me that you don't have for the next person. You
Yeah.
will give me that moment of your life to hear what I have to say. And
Mm.
that has been the key, just figuring out how to, and just the nuance of it, not to be too vague with what I say, but to get into actual detail.
Mm,
And that's one thing that I think that makes this project great, because we get Lito. I think it's courageous to do what he did, because
Mm.
he's gone into great detail about his relationships,
man,
about his gripes with other people, or about his mistakes as well.
right.
So you're truly getting a unique story with this.
Mm.
Well, since we in a era, not even era, since we in the energy of vulnerability, I'm gonna ask you a very vulnerable question. What is one thing you're currently doing that's not working, or is
Mm.
costing you more time, energy, or money than it's giving back?
I'm in my head a lot, man. I'm gonna be honest. I'm in my head a lot. So I'm very new to this. I'm from the era where you didn't really share yourself with people. You know, you just kept it very closed in, and you held on tight to it. And I think for me, uh, caring about, like, I'll look at things like how many views I got. Oh dang. And of course algorithm, like, it's things that are out of my control. Like,
Mhm.
once you start promoting something, the algorithm sees that and they say, "Oh, we're not showing it to anybody because we want you to boost it on we wanted you
Right.
to pay to get the views. So we're not gonna show it to anybody." The moment so looking at things like that, I'll be like, dang, I just put this post up of just me just doing nothing, and it got 1,000 story views. Then I post the album and it's like 300, and I'm like,
Mhm.
what? Right? I'm like prejudging it or judging it, and I just gotta get out my head, bro. Get out my head and get in my heart. I always say that to myself, like every other day.
Yeah.
Get out your head, get in your heart, bro. Cause like they're gonna come, bro. The people are gonna come. The support is gonna be there. And right now, I would say, like, for your average independent artist, I got a lot more support than most independent artists.
I
That's
agree.
like on the come up, first projects, first time people hearing you do music. It usually doesn't look like this, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful and being in gratitude, just like always, like, I'm not those type of artists or people in general just like, it grinds my gears when they like put all their energy towards haters or critiques, and they
Right.
never shout out the people that's showing them love. They'll have like 1 million people saying how much they love
Showing
them,
all
and then
kind of
that
love.
one person just. But and that's also self esteem and things of that sort. But for me, like, I just got to stop overthinking. I like
That's real.
overthink a lot everywhere in my life. Like, it's just a
That's real.
constant battle of overthinking. So I'm doing my best to release that, and I think my if you don't mind speaking about my relationship with God, it's my spirituality has been helping
Of
me
course.
out with that so much because this has been my guiding quote of the year has been faith over fear.
Faith over
Faith
fear.
over fear, bro. That's been my guiding light through this whole year, through the next 20 years. Just faith over fear. If I could, faith of a mustard seed, bro. If I have a faith of a mustard seed, fear doesn't exist, and they can't exist together. So
That's
I'm
real.
releasing that. I'm
Yeah.
releasing that.
I used to always hear coming up, pray, don't worry. And if you're going to worry, don't pray. Pray. You got to choose one. Both of those can't exist in the same ecosystem. If you're going to sit there and worry, how much energy can you put into the faith that is necessary for the prayers that you're putting forth? Like you're going for counsel. You're going for, I know this is bigger than me, and I'm coming to you because I know that you are all knowing in these things. Same question for you, Roy-AL. What is one thing that you're currently doing that's not working and is costing more time, energy, or money than it's giving back to you?
Shoot, man, I would definitely say, I mean, as far as money, I'm not sure, but like many people, I'm finding the challenges of being a little too introverted and not wanting to get out there and get in the mix of people,
Right.
not liking crowds, not wanting to network.
Mhm.
I'm starting to find the importance of people actually seeing you up close, seeing what they're hearing,
It's
and
real.
getting to actually feel your energy out. That's very important. It's a very important thing. And I'd also say like a little bit too what I was actually thinking about the other day, just not feeling like I'm ready for certain things, not feeling like
Mhm.
I've done enough. When people are saying, you know what, maybe you should try and make some t-shirts or something or put together a listening event, and I'm thinking, yeah, I don't really think like enough people care just yet.
Mhm.
I don't think it'll do too much. Instead of at least trying to come up with something sample size just to see how it works. I feel like I have been shutting down a little too many ideas, and I'm getting to a place where I do want to see if I want to experiment more and just jump out there and be ready to fail if that's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Mm.
This is why I asked this question, because I think a lot of up and coming artists, I separate between up and coming and independent. When I think independent, I'm thinking of someone who has gone through the proper steps to establish this as a business. They're structuring this. There's a process to their creative process. They're not running around chaotically. However, I think a lot of independent artists who do have that structure sometimes have the imagination. I know I did it one time, that everybody has it all figured out. And in essence, we have us having more shots at it is what equals the success. It's not always shooting and making the basket, but having more opportunities to shoot the basket, I think, is the kind of success that a lot of people don't really have a relationship with. So I salute you both for disclosing that, because I think it's going to be encouraging for a lot of independent artists to hear. But I got a fun question as the last one. The last one. I appreciate y'all time. I appreciate y'all being so transparent. I'm gonna need y'all to put y'all heads together for this one, because this is where your chemistry is about to show out right now. Look,
Okay.
imagine y'all both wake up tomorrow and everything related to your work is gone. No catalog, no audience, no relationship, no momentum. You still have your experiences, your skills, your work ethic, plus a laptop, a phone, internet access, and a small budget. If you had to start over from absolute zero, what would y'all do first and why?
That's okay. You said still having a budget
Still got you
and
you,
all the
you, you got a little
Yeah,
budget.
so
You got a small
low
budget.
budget. Okay.
okay.
Dang, what would I do?
Do I still have my equipment, or do I got to get the equipment all over again?
You got a laptop,
Yeah.
you got a phone, internet access, and a small budget.
Okay. Well, first, I mean, I'm saving up so I can get a microphone. I mean, that's the thing. If I can give me a microphone and an interface, and I can make it happen from there. That's how I started off at. I spent a few $100s out of my college grant to get a Blue Yeti, and then eventually, and then it was just a Blue Yeti USB. Plug it right into the laptop. Let's start going. And then eventually it was, I got like an M box and then a a microphone. I forgot. It was some. It was a condenser mic. I forgot which kind though. It was my first. But from there, it's basically trial and error, recording music, and then afterwards just picking up the phone and shooting as much of the process as possible. So to make sure that once the work is finished, not even worry too much about the mix, because I wasn't worried too much about the mix when I was getting started. It's like we'll get there and you can enjoy the journey of my work improving as you go. But once I have a means so that I can actually do this and save money without actually spending bread on studios and all of that, figuring out a way to source the material for as quickly as possible, as efficiently. That's the start right there. And then get to songwriting, use YouTube, BeatStars, whatever I got to do.
Hello.
You know what I'm saying? If I don't have the DAW yet, and then break out the phone, shoot as much as I can from there, film the process, go in the backyard, shoot a performance clip or whatever, chop it up, and then get to promote and then just start from there.
I'm glad you picked that question up and you didn't get the equipment, because I asked that specifically because there's somebody right now who they are starting right there, right? They don't have the scenario of having the experience, but I think them understanding your first few steps is so crucial, because for them, they probably feel overwhelmed at times and feel like, I don't even know where to start. That gives a good framework of, for someone who's been there and in some magic scenario, I lost it. Oh, this is how these are the pieces we put together. What about for you, Lito? How do you answer that, man? You woke up and
So I think that was such a great way to start it, because okay, now once you have those plans in place, that's to me the initial groundwork of restarting. I think then it's all about what do you have to say. And I think any artist, it's two things you should do. I think first you got to find out what's relatable, right? So I made records called Church Hurt. I made records about survivor's remorse. I made records about, on one record, I something that I know so many people haven't experienced, but no one really talks about, is losing a child, right? You never really hear rappers, especially from the male's perspective, talk about an aborted child, right? So I would say find things that are relatable, but not something everyone is talking about, and talk about that. And then speak, like Roy-AL says, speak from your perspective, man. What's your perspective? That's the only thing we have that makes us stand out from everybody, is your perspective. So I would find what's relatable and make a record about that. I'm
come
gonna
on.
go in there and I'm gonna talk about, how hard it is to pay rent right now, gas being too high. I'm gonna make a record straight about, right? And that's gonna have people be like, I don't know who this is, but word, my rent mad high. So understandable, and I'm gonna do it in a catchy way, so I'm gonna use it as a metaphor. So I may be talking about one, right? Like I'm a double entendre that thing where I'm talking about rent, but I'm also talking about life. So how do I figure out a different way that's I'm a student of the game, bro, and that's in acting and
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
If you look at Denzel, all he did was take what Sidney Poitier did and put it to a different level. If you look at you look at these artists, bro, they didn't steal, but they took, maybe they borrowed and they enhanced.
Yeah.
And I think, look at what's working out there, bro. Look at what's working and find a way to put it in your world and enhance it. And I think if you could do that, starting with what Roy-AL said and then creating with what I offer, I think you got a chance.
Man, there it
There was
is.
one more thing I was about to add to that, and he actually touched on that. Fix your mind to become a student of the game. Get in student mode. Even before you even do any of the what I said, start listening to music
Mm.
differently. Um, when you're listening to artists that you like, don't just listen just recreationally, but now start paying attention to nuances, the way they're fixing their tone when they're on the beat, the way they're flowing, the way they're fixing their syllables and all of that. Start studying these kind of things. Start pulling up footage of um, people performing from the best performers in the game. You can go look at what Travis Scott is doing, go look at what Busta Rhymes is doing, look at what Michael Jackson and James Brown did, and figure out how you should conduct yourself on the stage, figure out performing fundamentals. Go look at what the hype men are doing. Figure out the best way to be on stage with a microphone in your hand and you're not the active vocalist. Start studying all the nuances so that, once you're in these situations, you're already familiar. So definitely first become a student, get on YouTube, start picking up as much information as possible, and then continue from there as well.
Man, I can't thank y'all enough for all these gems that y'all done dropped today. I appreciate both of you taking your time to share your stories with us today.
Thank you, my brother. It means a lot. Yo, thank you for the opportunity. I'm a fan of your work as well. So for you to care about us and our stuff and what we got going on over here in Brooklyn, man, and our little stuff, man, thank you, bro. It means the world to me, man. Thank you.
Look, if you want to thank me, just when I send this open verse.
Oh, man. That's how we do. I do that in my sleep. You heard?
When I send this open verse, though, look, I'm playing, but I'm not playing because I'm about to
Please don't be playing.
I ain't playing.
Hey,
I ain't playing. I'm
30,
getting busy. I'm getting busy.
Summers, 33 summers.
Come on. I didn't did about to do 41 summers the next what is it? 41 next month. So yeah. But I appreciate both of you. DIYers, this has been another episode of Live from the Underground. This episode with LITO and Roy-AL. If this conversation resonated with you, go ahead and tap in, support the work. Make sure you hit the like button, leave a comment, share it, and stay curious, independent artists. We'll see you on the next episode. Thank you again, gentlemen. DIYers, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Come on, man. Stop being greedy. Peace.